Segment 01, Temp Audio. I need to rewrite this bit because too many of the points that I made in the introduction originally were made in Section 2, Subnautica. Say something high level and vague, roughly 300 words, talking briefly about the survival game market, and then segue into Subnautica now. Subnautica is an open-world survival game released into early access in December of 2014. It was made by a relatively small team in America, and in the game you play as Riley Robinson, a crew member aboard the futuristic space vessel the Aurora. And in the opening cutscene, you have to perform an emergency crash landing on an unexplored ocean planet known as 4546b.
You have suffered minor head trauma. This is considered an optimal outcome.
Your drop pod splashes down into a semi-random location on an expansive open map, and you have to do your best to try and stay alive.
PDA has now rebooted in emergency mode with one directive: to keep you alive on an alien world. Good luck.
Straight off the bat though, the team were able to distinguish their product with the setting, an open ocean, something that competitors hadn't thought of. Complete with reefs, sandbars, oceanic trenches, and deep lava tubes. I played Subnautica in May of 2016, about a year and a half after its early access release, and it was actually very good. Here's me successfully driving a submarine. They're meant to sink, it's the submarine. This is fine.
Oh god, we are sinking. Oh, we are properly sinking. Oh god, look at that. That's awesome.
The player not only has to try and stay alive long enough to be rescued, jumping through the hoops of finding sufficient water and food, but they also have to better themselves and their survival situation by finding additional pieces of technology, notably ways to get around the ocean faster, with the explosive crash landing and subsequent explosion of the Aurora's drive core serving as a good excuse to get all of this stuff scattered all over the place. Also, some months after their early access release, they'd put in the ever-popular survival feature of base building, expanding the survival thing of having a safe home, cozy and well supplied versus the wild and hostile outside environment. Base building games are popular for many reasons, but that is a big one. Even in ones that are overtly PvP, you have your patch, your stomping ground. All in all, I really enjoyed Subnautica. I had a great time. I thought the unique visual twist of the ocean gave exploration a sense of immersive terror that no other survival game was trying. The natural fear that many of us have of deep water and the things that lurk in it. And the developer's attention to detail concerning codex entries for the various species of fish that you can scan.
Seek fluid intake immediately.
More important things right now.
Coupled with the ability to clad yourself in vehicular armor, with the largest subs being outright immune to attack, at the time at least, meant that the initial trepidation that you faced exploring was gradually replaced by wonder, like a biologist exploring a vibrant fictional food chain.
Ow, do you mind?
A really bitey fictional food chain.
Oh Jesus. Fuck off.
A really, really bitey fictional food chain.
No. Oh my god, get off. Bad touch. Abandon ship. Swim away. My sea moth. Oh, you're kidding me. Goddamn fish.
Now, after 2016, I moved on to other things. My audience made me gradually aware that Subnautica had since worked to put in a story, adding the various elements for it over the course of 2017, and eventually completing the game by January 2018. And I was kind of intrigued. Here, potentially, I might be able to get some of the answers to those questions that I had about adding a story to a survival game. What does that actually, look like? What sort of pitfalls are involved? Are there any quirks that arise by adding a narrative structure to a genre that's really defined by the ability to just go in any direction and find stuff, see what happens? So, I loaded up Subnautica again, I think in 2020, and I dived back in. So the most interesting thing to talk about, I think, is the genre selected for the story. It's mystery.
The Aurora suffered orbital hull failure. Cause unknown.
the story is infused with mystery.
Scans of damage to the Aurora do not match any known offensive technologies.
Without wishing to go into heavy spoilers for Subnautica, because it's excellent and I strongly recommend you play it, Riley, the survivor, discovers that he can't actually leave, even if a rescue ship arrives that day. No ship can move in and out of the atmosphere for reasons that I won't explain, and trying to figure out why is what leads you down a rabbit hole, discovering this giant strain to the breaking point Rube Goldberg plot machine that has you trying to figure out the missing piece. And when you get to that point, when you see the mystery laid out in front of you, and you can see the writer's design, it can be quite satisfying. Especially when you realise that if you merely do something simple, you can unblock the jammed plot apparatus and make all the difference in the world. And this actually grafts really well onto the open world nature of the game. I already mentioned that you naturally explore and find survival tools and equipment, swimming apparatus and base building segments or vehicle parts.
You can probably search the area for pieces of technology.
But now, because the story is a mystery, the authors are able to fragment the clues in a similar way and then scatter them across the map in the same fashion. And to facilitate that, they've overhauled the way in which the vehicles work quite dramatically. Back in 2016, your big submarine could just go wherever. Once you had it, that was it. You could really just go wherever you want. But now though, they've carefully tweaked the crush depth for each individual vehicle, and you can bounce along in the shallows with your little Seamoth submarine.
Ta-da! Thank you, drones. Meet the Seamoth.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
But if you want to go deeper, you're going to need specific minerals for the depth modules. Well, where are they? Well, you go back to your base and you build a scanner device. Oh, they're in these biomes over here, away from the shallows. Okay, so you need to go there. You need to spend time in these biomes. Next clue needs you to go deeper? Well, you're going to need the big sub. More clues down there. Is that it? No, because your big sub can't actually fit down the tight tunnels that are present in the endgame. Tight, narrow lava tubes, that sort of thing. But you can carry a mining suit called a prawn.
Dropping.
And you can then deploy that from the large sub to explore the close quarters areas. They've tailor-made your modes of transportation to not simply be fast, faster, and then even faster, but to deal with different environmental challenges.
I'm sorry, what is that? There's a bug attached to the front of the prawns. Do you mind? Fuck off. No. Fuck off. Fine. What was that sound? There better not have been another one. There's not another one on me. Oh, for fuck's sake!
Another thing they've chosen to do is that they direct the players with nav markers. You'll periodically get radio messages from the other survivors of the Aurora, telling you that they've crash landed somewhere and they need your help. And a 3D marker will appear on your heads-up display.
This is LifePod 3, uploading our coordinates. We're plugging some holes in our emergency sea glide, so if we're late for the rendezvous, don't panic. Also, don't go home without us. Seriously. 3 out.
LifePod 3, shallows. Crew report their sea glide damaged at 365 meters.
You'll usually arrive to find that the pod is either abandoned or damaged or destroyed by the local megafauna. But you see, the survivors aren't really the point. The point is to direct you to the biomes that you've not explored, to find more survival items and add to your pile of questions and clues, with lots of audio diaries to keep you invested in discovering what exactly happened here.
I don't know what the heck is happening. I'm scared and I'm not going outside. There are shadows in the water under the hatch, but I can't tell if they're rocks or aliens. The Aurora was carrying everything needed to build the phase gate. I don't know why no one's coming for me.
It's clever. They've diegetically used the challenges of ocean exploration and the calls for help in a desperate survival situation in tandem with the type of storytelling which allows for a non-linear acquisition of plot points to tell a story that is infused with mystery.
Detecting an artificial structure somewhere in the region.
Really?
And leaning into the fact that players can, and probably will, lay waste to whatever story narrative you had in mind if you try to tell one linearly. You can see the fingerprints of a developer, realizing that they need to adapt the story to appropriately fit the medium. One thing I really noticed though, the main thing that I want to talk about with Subnautica's plot, it's quite tacked on. It's kind of tricky to explain without direct spoilers, so I'm going to do a hypothetical. Let's say you're exploring a river in search of cool survival stuff, and you're finding that the river is mostly unchanged since the last time you dropped into the game some years ago. But now, this time, you find that in the middle of the river is a half-sunken pirate ship. The unexpected presence of the pirate ship isn't accidental, it's out of place on purpose for the shock value, and it's full of really important plot points and revelations. But, it's not like baked into the environment in a way that comes across as natural. This pirate ship could be anywhere. This could be on land, we could be on the beach, this could be in a dry dock, this could be on the moon, because it's all kind of self-contained. You enter the pirate ship, some cutscenes play as you look around, and then you leave. Tone-wise, there may as well be a kathonk sound where the plot stuff starts and the survival stuff stops. It's not really tied to the environment, if that makes sense. And lots of places in Subnautica are just like that. All endgame related. You enter an area, find something that looks a bit out of place, plot happens, and then you return to the game world. And so the cogs in my brain start to turn gently. Is that a consequence of it being a late edition? Like, they couldn't easily change the map layout, but they can add a pirate ship and make the plot happen in there. So that kind of gets me thinking. Are all of the open world survival games that have their stories added after their early access going to feel a bit like that? Will they lean heavily on mystery as a primary genre? Will player freedom be intentionally corralled to stop them racing off to find the really critical clues too soon? Will player attention be directed in specific ways, using diegetic reasons for the player to be headed in one particular direction? And will the story elements take place in locations that feel just a little bit shoehorned in? As in, if I play The Forest from 2014, which has since also had its story retroactively added, will the main plot elements take place on like an oil rig or something? It was a minor thought, nothing major. Maybe it might make an interesting video one day. Looking at some of the stories added to open world survival games launched without them, to see if they use similar solutions to similar problems. And then one day, I was very, very bored.
You can probably tell I'm rather bored. There appears to be a bird inside this plane. Okay.
I played it back in, oh god, like December 2014? I even made a bullshittery with it.
Ooh, look, dead cannibal.
Where? So, sorry, what are we meant to be doing?
This time, though, it was late 2020, and I streamed it.
Whoops, sorry.
I streamed all of it.
Oh my god, I'm a dumbass,
I enjoyed it.
Oh! Hey!
And after 27 hours, I finished it. And then I went insane.
That's... okay, I thought that... So, is there no, like... I don't know what to say. Sorry. So the game... right... okay. I'm very... Yeah, I'm crushed. Forgive me, I'm actually incredibly disappointed. It was doing so well.
Okay, I don't know what this video is. Like, I had a plan. That was my plan. What I just said about Subnautica, and I would have a look at the survival games with their stories added in post and see if there was anything worth talking about. And then I played The Forest, and I feel as though I've been sent into a tailspin. We all like to rubberneck a trash fire, right? I mean, YouTube is full of that. But that's not really what this is, because The Forest is actually good, at times very, very good. And I feel like I'm in that scene from Indiana Jones, where I've confidently stepped forward only to find that my foot has fallen through into a pit of logic so profoundly weird that delving deeper into this specific rabbit hole is arguably more interesting now. Would you just let me ramble, really? I think this is more just for my sanity. Before we go there, though, a point about the mystery genre. When one is constructing a mystery narrative, or really any story where mystery is a driver, the whole idea is that the question is raised in the mind of the audience member, and the story is delaying giving the answer to those questions on purpose. The idea there is to hopefully build intrigue, maybe even a bit of suspense, or at least the desire to know more. But the important thing to remember is that the audience are expecting answers. That is the promise being made through the work by the creator, whether they want it or not. You don't have to answer everything. Supernatural elements of a story in particular are greatly cheapened if the audience are told how it all works. It's okay to keep some things mysterious for the benefit of the tone, and it's also okay to feed the audience misinformation for the sake of a twist. The red herring is a thing, it has been for a long time, so long as you try to manage it carefully. But broadly speaking, the viewer, when they reach the end, must be able to see and understand the logic of the mystery. It's probably unwise if they're left with 24 red herrings that led nowhere, or encountered logic that exists on Earth only in the space between the writer's ears. And it's a very bad thing if the plot has gaping chasms, where the connections between 2 points of logic just aren't there. Why? Because the nature of mystery stories are that they're proactive. The tantalizing nature has viewers play with the clues in their head to see if they can guess where the story is going. They're not just sitting back like a sponge and listening passively. They are, hopefully, if you've done it right, invested. They're intrigued, and they might be filling the gaps temporarily with their own ideas, a fact that can backfire if you go in without a plan and you're just setting up the start of a story because you're just winging it. And oh my god, what is this picture doing here? Now there's this video by an inspiring YouTuber from long ago called Mr. B-Tongue. In it he makes a critical comparison between the games Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. I shan't put the whole video here because it's huge, I'll put a link to it below. Both of these games were made in the same setting, both made with the same tools, but it's the latter one that's generally considered to be the critical darling of the two. In the video, he coins and talks about the term shandification, which is where the line between signal and noise, between the plot and the setting details, is intentionally blurred to take advantage of the open world medium. The developers basically not ignoring the minutiae of the setting details. This lets the player wander around a bit more freely without bumping into an immersion-breaking contrivance. And whilst I do agree with him, it's important for an open world setting, carefully considering the environment, I do think that the signal is very important, perhaps abnormally important in a mystery story specifically. Because at the end of the story, as the credits are rolling, the audience member must be able to look back at the signal and comprehend it from the noise, that despite blurring lines and weaving the plot through the setting, the user must be able to follow it. So what does any of that have to do with the forest? Well, we're gonna get there in like, oh god, fuck, this video's huge. Ooh, am I setting up a question and then delaying the answer to generate intrigue? Ooh, topical.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now crossing a zone of turbulence. Please return to your seats and keep your seatbelts fastened.
So the Forest entered early access in May of 2014, and like BioShock before it, it starts with a bang.
Flight attendants and cabin crew, please.
From that plane out you step, outwards into the light of the forest, only to find no sign of any other passengers. They've all presumably been carried off, even the dead, except for you and this one woman, of course. And even now, the player's head is no doubt burning with questions. Why did the plane crash? What brought it down? Where are we? And who the hell was the man that took my son? And where was he taking him? The answers won't be forthcoming for the time being. Instead, the player is able to look over their surroundings. They might find that they're near a cliff and note that there's an ocean. They'll probably discover that they can use their axe to smash open some luggage containers, finding junk food and water, enough to maintain themselves for the moment. The brightly coloured luggage that's scattered around encourages you to look at your feet, where you'll also start finding basic resources. You also come with what appears to be a children's book with instructions on how to survive. Presumably it was Timmy's, and it serves as a diegetic, as in in-universe reason, for why the player character would look to say, build a small shelter.
No, not on my camp! Oh no!
Exploring around for a bit, you'll find a yacht anchored in a bay. Who owns this yacht? And next to that you'll find a grave with a bunch of photographs scattered on it. Whose grave is this? Picture of a boat. That boat. Who's taking all the photographs? Weirdly, you'll also probably notice a few environmental details, or at least I did, that might come across as very unusual. There are sharks. Lots of sharks. Not little ones. Full-grown great white sharks just lying dead on the beach, as though they died from some mass poisoning. My first thought was a storm, but I mean, the yacht looks undamaged. Why are there dead sharks on the beach?
Let's go check out that boat.
Boarding the yacht, you'll find a very strange scene. There are human remains everywhere. The kitchen is covered in gore. A human head sits on a plate on the table facing upwards, carefully posed like that, and the game draws attention to a milk carton on the table with a quizzical tone, even holding it up to the camera. Who's the boy on the carton?
Does that imply that they were also looking for a missing boy?
There's a card reader for a cabin that you cannot access. Also, there's a picture on the wall. A children's drawing signed by someone called Megan Cross. Who is Megan Cross? Someone who's gone missing? Returning to the beach, you'll probably feel inclined to set up a small shelter, which lets you save. The game, straight off the bat, really focuses on ambience, on atmosphere. Everything feels claustrophobic, even when you're outdoors. The trees feel like they close in, and the audio design is excellent, with rumbling ocean waves and fierce winds, encouraging you to build something to retreat to for safety, particularly as you spot other people moving in the forest. And when you can't see them, you'll certainly hear them. Who are they? Who are the tribals? And later that chorus is joined by other stranger sounds.
I hear something thumping. Something roaring. Is it a bear?
And for my particular playthrough at least, there was a deep guttural rumbling from time to time, never sticking around for long, but always noticeable. Listen very carefully, and you'll hear it.
Ooh, I'm so sorry. Woo.
It's probably at this point that you as a player will have a small shelter and probably a small fire, and it's also at this point that you as the player will probably start to poke the world with a stick for a little bit to see what mechanics you're dealing with. It's cool that you can actually hit the sharks, and the game does recognise that you want to take their heads off, and also it's kind of cool that the turtle has its own hitbox.
Can you please just... There we go. Yeah.
But it's also at this time that you'll probably notice that something's a bit, like, off? Okay, I don't want to interrogate video game logic, because, you know, sometimes it's video game logic.
I ate a Russian glow cap and it charged up my batteries.
Huh?
But from time to time, you'll notice something really just weird. As in stuff that you'll find really difficult to ignore, or at least I did. For example, you'll quickly discover that there's a crafting screen, and it lets you combine different objects to produce upgrades for stuff. That's like really normal survival genre stuff.
Rocks. What can I make with the rocks? Burning weapon. Burning weapon? What is this? How does this help? Okay. Oh no, it doesn't help. That doesn't help at all. What the fuck? Ow! That was not useful!
So then you ponder to yourself, what could you combine with your axe? The game tells you that you can do that. In fact, starting off with the small number of items in your inventory, that's probably one of the first things you'll try to upgrade. Well, in order to upgrade the damage, you need human teeth.
I'll add teeth for more damage?
And you take tree sap to stick them onto the axe head. And when I say stick them onto the axe head, I mean like just stick them onto the axe head. Not even on the blade, just anywhere.
Not sure that would really help versus the cutting edge, but okay.
You used to be able to define where to put them, but that's been taken out, apparently. Now it's just, you know, all over the axe. Just human molars sitting there. Small tangent. During my time in software quality assurance, there was this phrase repeated in my training. Quality is everyone's concern. It's simply a mindset that a quality assurance analyst needs to try and promote within the team. That quality, as nebulous as that sometimes is, isn't something left right until the end of the process where it's no doubt more expensive to fix, but that the rituals of quality assurance, the running of the tests, the checking of requirements, the critical looking at things and saying, should we do it like that? It's an ongoing process, from scoping to final implementation. Quality is everyone's responsibility, not merely the guys with it in their job title. So when I see something like this, I know it's a small team, but I would expect at least that it's gone through a couple of people, right? At least a couple of pair of eyes have looked at that and gone, yeah, human teeth makes axe better? And then jumping ahead quite a bit, later on in the game you're able to find a sword, a real sword, sharp as anything, and you get the opportunity to upgrade it. And if you found poison berries, you can get the option to apply poison berries to the blade, like smear the poison on the blade or whatever. But then the game just lets you literally apply poison berries, as in like a bunch of berries just clipping into the blade.
That's your idea of poisoning it, just sticking a few berries on the end. This guy, I tell you.
Again, I don't want to get hung up on this shit because we're going to be here forever, but it's moments like this that make you go, huh? To further the weirdness though, not in technical implementation this time, but in, like, core concept, consider the central premise that I've just walked you through. You've just been involved in a major plane crash which has resulted in the death or injury of a lot of people. You even get a manifest later telling you how many, and that the crash site was set upon by an unknown group, one of whom abducted your son along with all of the others. You'd want to find your son, right?
Timmy's photo. Ugh. Jesus Christ, are we sure we want to save him? Oh, okay.
But like, why aren't you calling for help? The book gives you an option to build a giant SOS sign that can be spotted from the air, and you can indeed spot low-flying civilian airliners, so you know you're not that far from civilization. Also, they never spot you, like, ever. Why is it the planes cannot see the crash? But wouldn't you, at the very least, be on the lookout for some means of attracting direct help to your location? Not even just for you, necessarily, but for the dozens of people who might be alive and in need of search and rescue. You literally stumble upon an intact yacht, presumably one that has a satellite phone, and later on you find campsites with laptops and other electronics, some of which actually have power, any number of which no doubt contain at least one mobile phone, and you never have the option to even look. Ah, damn. I guess it's a shame the cockpit flew into the ocean. I guess that rules out the chance of finding a radio. No, you literally find the cockpit later. It's up on the side of the mountain. It's in bad shape, yeah, but you can't interact with it and you can't check its radio. I don't want to get twisted in knots over it, but like, the central premise is that you're stranded and presumably you want to get unstranded. And you trip over half a dozen ways to make that so. You can even find a helicopter later, a crashed helicopter, seemingly unburnt and mostly undamaged, with no attempt to look for its radio. Instead, it has a machete upgrade. How did Subnautica handle this situation? Well, it literally had you call for help.
Take the repair tool.
Don't poke it.
Right, radio.
They thought of it. They clearly thought of it. You call for rescue.
It'll take us a couple of days to align our orbit. We should be able to establish direct contact with you during that time. Then we're coming in to get you. Don't leave us waiting. Sunbeam out.
And the countdown to the rescue ship arriving and then its inability to get down to you is tied into the central mystery. But in the forest, it's not. They just really want you to find Timmy. Alone, apparently. Obviously strange logic, and it kind of unintentionally suggests that there's something a little bit wrong with your character.
Sorry, why not just make a He has the candles, what's with the skull?
And on that note, during your crafting experience, as you're working to try and survive, it's very likely that one of the cannibal people will attack you.
Hello. Whoa, bloody hell, Jesus Christ on toast. Whoa, okay.
And the game gives you an option to create personal body armor, to at least provide a basic means of defense that isn't a short-sleeve t-shirt and jeans. Your player character is able to fashion improvised armor from the resources in their inventory, resources that they can readily harvest from the environment. And players of the forest have probably just smirked because they know where I'm going with this. See, to make armor, there's deer pelts from the native deer, and you can hunt them if you're quick and lucky with a bow and arrow. There's also lizard skin from a type of monitor lizard. There are monitor lizards for some reason.
Oh, hello. Stand still and die like a lizard. Yeah, give it. You win this round.
And the other two types? Well, I'm not going to talk about the last one. Not yet. Too early. But the third one, the one that you'll be making armor out of for much of the game, is, human bones.
I see. Bone armor. Increased armor. Ah, okay. Can I make anything? Oh. Bandaging a few bones to your arm. Okay.
Okay, again, I don't want to get sucked down into the muck of video game logic, but I feel I need to remind people that the main premise of the game is this guy has literally just crash landed. He's still in the Tom Hanks wearing the FedEx shirt throwing coconuts at a rock stage of his survival experience. And yet the game expects, encourages, the player to cremate human bodies, collect their bones, and strap them to himself as body armor. I've been circling around this in my script. I've been tempted so many times to just cut this out because, this is me, right? I'm doing this. The game gives you options to make armor, and I'm choosing to do this, right? I'm choosing to use human bones. I'm just making a thing of this for my script. But, okay, 3 things. 1. Note that there is no form of armor that doesn't involve skinning or stripping the flesh off of something.
Ugh.
2. The deer pelts don't actually function as armor anymore. They used to, but they took that out. So for protection, it's either cannibal parts or lizards. And 3. Lizards aren't available in the underground caves, which is where much of the game takes place. Which means, yeah, the game expects me to wear human remains for protection, and doesn't say anything on that?
We have lost a bit of armor, so I'm just going to quickly grab some from my pre-prepared bone box.
This'll start a trend. We're going to circle back to this in what I'm going to call a neighborly stroll into unbelievable violence, where this guy, this protagonist, for seemingly no reason, with a multitude of far more sensible options, immediately goes for the most extremely violent one in a moment that just makes you go, huh?
Skin rack. I beg your pardon. Skin rack. Bone chandeliers. What the fuck, dude? Fucking hell. This is really what the fucking hell?
End Night, isn't this your first game? This is literally your first protagonist. Are you sure he's the protagonist? Oh, and what am I talking about when I say better options in this scenario? Well, I mean, think about it. We're trying to make body armor. For protection against the cannibal people who come charging out of the forest? If only we had, I don't know, some sort of access to a large amount of metal? Maybe aluminium and steel? Materials designed to be lightweight yet flexible? If only we had some sort of implement that might allow us to shear off strips of it, to fashion it into some sort of personal armor. No, we're going with bones. Human bones. Okay.
Why am I using their bones to make armor? I genuinely have no idea. There's some perfectly good metal from the plane that this guy could scavenge to make armor. I think he's just a fucking nutcase.
Exploring the area reveals that the forest is mostly flat with a large river running through it, hemmed in by oceans on all sides, with the exception of the north, which has a large mountain range blocking your path. The search and rescue operations are going to have to come by the sea or the air. Good job that we found the yacht at least. That might just be our ticket out of this place when we find Timmy. The plane passengers are far from the only people who have ever come to this place. There are campsites, both large and small, some expensive looking equipment, and specialist cave diving gear, such as ropes and steel anchors which are biting into the rock, leading down into the cave entrances. Who set up these camping tents? Who set up all of these ropes that lead into the caves? There are far older things too. Old-looking tents and army beds, old wooden boats and hunting perches. Who bought the rowboats here? And there are even numerous thatched huts and small villages that look like they've been attacked. Who set up all of these thatched tents? The cannibals? Also, I'm not kidding about how expensive some of this stuff looks. You end up finding not only scores of laptops and other electronics, but what looks like state-of-the-art underwater drones. Most are still actually powered and left where they were deployed, along with a vast number of heavy-looking crates. There's numerous well-funded groups sending lots of very expensive hardware and specialists, all of whom look like they've been attacked by the cannibal people. So the obvious question that follows is, why was there no major search for these people?
Yeah, I'm wondering why no one's come for the surveyors. You think if they all went missing, they'd send someone.
The weirdest one is probably one of the larger camps that appears to be A film crew, not only with their expensive cameras, but with numerous tents that appear to have been savaged. Why was there no major search for these people? Like, they were sent. They didn't just randomly come down in a plane crash. They chartered, I assume, a boat, which presumably would have come to pick them up. And when they didn't arrive? Many questions, pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. It all adds to an enticing mystery. What the fuck is the forest? Whilst back at your camp, you're probably failing to hunt dinner.
Come on. Damn it. Oh, hello. Ah, damn it. Oh, come on. Oh, come off it. What the... Ah! Moving target. Ah! Ah! Fucking seagulls.
You'll probably check your perimeter and find that you've had guests.
Bone basket. Arrow basket. Do you mind? Madam, I made that. Oh, she's got her tits out. And she's angry about it.
And defending yourself from the intruders no doubt prompts you to craft weapons and quickly learn how to use them. And it's here that you discover that the cannibals are the major focus of the game.
Whoa, hello.
Like, major focus.
Yeah.
The way they attack you, the way that they swarm in groups.
Oh, look at that. I've never seen that before.
The way they size you up from a distance before maybe one of them goes in to challenge you. It's pretty well done. Sometimes they even run away when things look a bit too dangerous.
Last chance. Smart.
It regularly brings up the same question in your head. Who are these cannibal people?
Here they come.
You will also start to notice leavings, sticks and rocks, combined with undoubtedly human remains, done in such a way that's clearly meant to have meaning. You'll find severed heads with things stuffed in their mouths, rags tying their hair, or skulls stuffed inside... I'm not even sure. Is that meant to represent a womb? They clearly have an extremely complicated set of religious beliefs. Why are they constructing effigies? Before long, you'll start to find these effigies everywhere the cannibals have been, perhaps marking territory or as a warning not to proceed. There are certain areas that seem special for unclear reasons. Watching the cannibals move around in the distance, you'll figure out that they congregate at specific sites, gigantic trees surrounded by these icons. Why are they putting these effigies around specific locations?
Yeah, I wonder if perhaps it's one of their religious sites?
If you're particularly attentive, you might catch a glimpse of the cannibals making the effigies directly outside your camp.
Oh, look, oh wow. One of them just set up one of the fetishes. I'd never seen them do that before. Did you see that?
Are they trying to curse you? Honor you? Warn others to stay away from you? Why are they building effigies outside my camp?
Were all of these here before? Perhaps they're trying to curse me.
But that's not the most interesting part. The most interesting part is that they like to incorporate outsider technology within the effigies. Pencils and pens, cameras and clothing, torches and watches, fingers dangling on these modern camping lines. Why incorporate modern technology within their effigies?
It's interesting that they incorporate so many, elements that they find. Like it's a toothbrush there.
Many questions. The cannibals clearly have a very elaborate set of cultural norms, and it looks like they might be different tribes? Some of them are distinctly different from each other.
What the hell are they? Chains?
Sooner or later, though, your surface exploration is going to find a really big puzzle piece.
Try building a birdhouse? Is that a thing? Whoa. Wow. Okay. It's not an impact crater. The Earth isn't deformed the right way. It's a sinkhole?
Is this made naturally, or is it part of a supernatural story?
No, it's too small to be a mining operation. I'm guessing it is indeed a lava tube. Well, that would explain the tunnels. If this whole place, this whole island is threaded with lava tubes all over the place that have since cooled and gone inactive, then yeah, this whole area could be completely honeycombed with tunnels. The cannibals wouldn't need to do any excavation at all.
And just to add it in my script here, where it seems the most appropriate, you later learn that this sinkhole is really the focus of all cannibal activities. As in, so many caves lead back here. Why are the cannibals focused around the sinkhole?
What on earth?
Also of note, right at the bottom of the sinkhole...
Yeah, we might have to pop back upstairs to just hunt something to eat. Oh, it's a helicopter. It's a crashed helicopter. How did that happen?
At this point in the story, I had yet to learn about the cockpit surviving, and naturally I figured that I wanted to call for help, so...
Wait, maybe there's a radio. How recent was the crash?
A giant sinkhole and a helicopter included. It's like a bullseye. An X marks the spot. So down into the tunnel network I went. Down here you'll find the cannibals, but it's a different character to what you'll see upstairs. I spoke before about the contrast between your home base and the open world.
Oh dear.
Well, down in the caves, that contrast is highlighted hugely. The game does a good job of it, I think. You feel pretty vulnerable. They'll be rushing at you through the darkness, resulting in close quarters brawls before they rush off again. You'll fumble through the network of tunnels in search of clues insofar as what happened to your son, without really knowing what you're doing or where you're going. You'll find a trail. Children's drawings, seemingly made with crayons and positioned all over the place. They depict a range of things, mostly horrible. You assume that your son is drawing them, but, well, who is making the drawings? The game draws attention to the fact that at least one other child has gone missing, and it won't be long until you discover newspaper clippings telling you of others. So, again, why are children going missing? What has it got to do with this place? These items are scattered amongst a myriad of other things, some taken from the plane, but some clearly not. Suitcases are stacked up alongside random electronics, spelunking equipment, and really old things such as ancient wooden crates and cots. There are also some clever little technical details. The ropes are loading screens, as far as I can tell, as are the tight squeezes between the cave areas, seamlessly rendering the next segment without breaking your immersion. Also, if you're exploring the surface and you manage to get injured to the point of death, you're not actually forced to restart the game. You're shown a short cutscene in which you're captured and taken to a place on the map that becomes known as the Hanging Cave. It's over here on the map. It's just another place you can explore normally, but it's also at that location where you find a dead body of a surveyor? And he has a map. The same map that you'll use for the rest of the game. Meaning if you've not found it yet, you'll find it here.
Where am I on the map though, so that I know? Reminds me of the morning.
It's in the Hanging Cave that you'll also find some grisly scenes.
The hell are they? They meant to be babies?
And as you're on your way out, you may find that something lunges at you.
Well, there is a way up. Hang on. Up, 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 up. You can bog off. Oh my god, on toast! Nope, 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 nope.
The caves are just full of death. You start finding the plane passengers, what's left of them anyway. Their insides are no longer that. And in some cases it appears that the cannibals are disassembling people? There are piles of specific organs such as hearts in one cave, arms in another, fingers hanging from string in several. Like spare parts, almost. Like someone making piles of scrap metal. Why are the cannibals organising body parts into piles?
They keep sorting things into piles, don't they? Piles of money, piles of watches, piles of heads, piles of legs. They're very neat.
The finger thing is actually notable, much more so than the other organs. There are these displays of severed fingers that you need to walk under, all tied with modern line. The developers seem to be drawing specific attention to it. It's all at your eye level. Something to do with fingers. Why are the cannibals preoccupied with fingers?
They keep hanging fingers all over the place. In fact, it's almost as if each individual cave has a bit of a theme, doesn't it?
It's here, though, that I want to take another quick tangent. Just like the thing about the weird logic. Because I started to notice something else. Every time I'd see something done well, done really well in fact, it was almost immediately followed by something done very poorly. My expectations would rise on seeing something cool, but then sink again when I would spot a major problem with it.
Yeah, the pathfinding is pretty goofy, isn't it?
The game has subtle attention to detail in places, notably with audio. The cave networks are just full of ambience. The sound of blood dripping from the hanging corpses, or things breathing quietly just ahead of you in the gloom.
I hear something. Breathing.
Or the interface audio echoing from the walls of large open spaces like the sinkhole.
The sound of me upgrading something just echoed off the walls.
So that's cool, but then they made no attempt to balance the audio.
Is that too loud? That looks too loud. Should I turn that down for you? Sorry. Can we get through here? It's a bit loud. Sorry, that's way too loud. Holy shit. I don't know why that's so loud, sorry. Sorry. It's so loud. Where does this go? Oh, Jesus Christ. Ow, that's loud. Thank you, game.
The cave system features diving, in which you have to submerge into this murky, ominous-looking water. It can become some of the game's most chilling moments.
Whole load of corpses down here. Careful. Don't get stuck. Just stay calm.
But then, they didn't actually put in an underwater floor texture. They've just duplicated the surface texture, which has really obviously reflecting puddles.
Yeah, that's not good.
The game has spent time creating this lavish crafting screen, at least twice, as far as I can tell, where you place items in the middle and then you modify them, but damag. Front and center, damag.
Speed, damag, or block?
They've taken care to place down items and then control where you find them, but seemingly, nobody put in a system to not duplicate the items when an area loads. So backtracking through a tunnel, which will happen a lot, has you stumble upon stuff you've already found.
Didn't I break these?
Which, you know, you might not care about for most items.
Ah, respawning petrol.
But like, Timmy has a toy robot. It was shown to us in the plane.
What's that, sorry?
But you'll stumble upon the same toy pieces.
What's this? Oh, there's another piece of Timmy's toy?
Again.
What's this? Oh, it's another piece of Timmy's toy.
And again.
Oh, look. Really? Another piece of Timmy's toy?
And again.
Simple bugs that really should have been sorted out. Look, I'm just picking up the same piece of toy again and again. That's a little immersion breaking.
Oh, and here's one. They thought about how the players would illuminate their way through the cave network. They give the player a little plastic lighter by default, and that of course can be followed by flares and then the ability to illuminate your own weapon. But for some reason, they've made it so that the system switches off your source of light if you perform an action.
Just swinging it once makes it go out?
Like opening the crafting book.
Ah, damn.
Or transitioning through one of the many cave entrances.
That's a little annoying, to be honest.
Or like picking something up.
See what I mean? As in, so the moment you interact with anything, you put out the source of light?
The whole playthrough. It's aggravating. Nobody thought to just reactivate the light source when the player has stopped an action? Nobody in the dev team thought that.
And I wish in this tangent that I could finish it with some salient point from my quality assurance training, some quotable soundbite from some seminar or whatever, but instead I'm just going to say something that's blisteringly obvious. Quality assurance matters. Like, it really fucking matters. Never underestimate the importance of ensuring the quality of something you're making, which in the case of software will probably save you time, money in the long run, boost customer confidence in your company, and improve your goodwill when it comes to making follow-up products. Don't half-ass quality. No customer in your final 1.0 launch should ever see this. What is that one doing? Oh, is she okay? Yeah. I almost don't want to interrupt. It's like, it seems like a very private ritual she's got going on here. She'll get tired eventually. You have a good day, Mom.
Relevant for later is that I'm saying that The Forest as a sandbox survival/mystery game is a weirdly inconsistent experience, where the moments of rising expectations are followed up by dropping expectations, creating this weird seesaw effect that is really quite pronounced. For now though, back to the plot. As you continue to explore, you'll start to build up more questions insofar as what's going on here, with each cave dive usually followed by a return to the surface to resupply. It's clear that Timmy, or at the very least a child making drawings, is being kept alive, and is being shown around?
He's swimming wearing scuba gear?
The pictures are in strange positions, some on the surface in front of the sinkhole, and some in the caves themselves. And while it's not clear if the cannibals are moving the pictures after the fact, Timmy has had time to draw them. Why are they giving him such a tour? Why not just eat him?
Okay, that's a creepy drawing. That's a really creepy drawing.
Sooner or later, though, your trips to and from the caves will have you bump into something quite different, triggering a flurry of questions insofar as what exactly this strange place is.
Whoa, it's one of those creatures. Uh-oh. Ugh. Looks like 4 legs that have been merged together with something. Let's kill it when it's in the open.
threading this thing with arrows, it just doesn't want to go down. If you encounter one of these in the tunnels, it actually hits like a freight train, rearing up onto its hind legs and charging at you, hissing and screaming, trying to tear you limb from limb as it's trying now. But eventually, with enough arrows, this twisted monster goes down.
Yuck. Fucking hell, look at it.
What made this? Was this joined, or was it born? How long have these things been here? You know, it's a bit of a pity that they don't have a voice protagonist. It would have been really fascinating to hear them express themselves the first time you see this thing. I have no doubt they'd be in shock. The character would be struggling to hold onto their stomach on seeing such a sight. Such a twisted mockery of flesh, a perverted, deformed, unnatural thing that can only be the work of the most unspeakable...
What am I doing? Oh god, what am I doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What did I do? What did you just do? What did you just do? The fuck is that? Creepy armor?
N-Knight?
Why would you wear that?
Are you guys okay?
Why does this guy consider that normal?
Do you have some issues that you guys want to, discuss over coffee? You have a protagonist who crashes in a plane, seems to be like a Bear Grylls TV personality type, wears human bones as armor, has no interest in calling for help, does, this.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Jesus fucking Christ.
And when they encounter one of these entities, an entity that must be pretty fucking horrifying, something straight out of John Carpenter's The Thing, and is probably supposed to provoke a flurry of serious questions insofar as what the fuck is happening, and the action that you guys put into the game, the only action that you can perform, is to, remove their hardened flesh and then slide it onto your body as skin armor.
Okay, I'm more scared of the protagonist than I am that thing.
No, I stand corrected. That's not the only thing you can have the players do. You can... Oh,
what am I doing? What am I doing? Why? Why? Why does this guy think that's okay?
That's a thing. That's a thing that's in the book. Okay, so that comes out of left field.
Oh, you thirsty bitch?
So much of this game comes out of left field.
I'm taking this one. Give me the shoe, bitch.
Can you perhaps see why I wanted to make this huge-ass video? More so than other games I've played, the design decisions are very unexpected. And to follow this, these giant leggy creatures have another twisted thing about them. They create smaller mutant babies. The same babies that you saw in the hanging cave. And I think this is meant to be horrifying, but,
Was that supposed to be scary? Oh, Jesus! That's ridiculous.
Head crab babies. Anyway. With that over, we plunge back into the cave network.
What am I wearing? Yeah, try not to think about it.
Now is really a good a time as any to mention those questions that I had when playing Subnautica. Those queries about what an open world survival game looks like with its story added in post. Well, it's clear that the forest is heavily leaning on mystery as the primary genre, so that tracks. I guess it's easier when you're doing the open world thing to just sprinkle clues all over the place, just as you've been doing with all the other items. And in one of the caves, you're able to find the equipment of some dead spelunkers, their camps savaged and their tools strewn around, one of which is a climbing pick to let you scale vertical walls as they do.
Ah, what's this? Climbing axe added to the backpack.
And later a rebreather to let you navigate the underwater segments of the caves, and even dynamite so you can access the caved-in areas. So the question was, is player freedom being intentionally corralled to stop the players from racing off and finding the really critical clues too soon? And the answer there is, well, it's more of the forest weirdness. Because strictly speaking, yes, you do technically need the rebreather and one other item I'm not going to talk about to access the ending of the game. But for the most part, these upgrades aren't strictly speaking used to gatekeep new areas with more clues, but are instead shortcuts between existing areas. Or, bizarrely, the keys to access far less convenient entrances and exits. Like, you're in a cave, and instead of backtracking, you just take the shortcut with this pick. Or this one, where you can go through the cave entrance here to access the wet cave, as it seems to be called. Or you can go through the underwater entrance 15 meters away, arriving in the exact same room with no benefits whatsoever. There is no reason to ever do that. You don't see the cave in a new way, you don't find any clues you couldn't have found without the rebreather. It's just a few extra seconds of your time. It's so weird. It's a weird way to do the map design. More so than Subnautica, the developers had the ability to strictly control which caves could be accessed, to stagger the clues in such a way that they would know that the players would find them in a certain order, and they just kind of don't do that. There are certain items that I think it would be a good idea for the player to have early, such as a camcorder, so you can play the tapes that you can find. But, okay. The other questions. Are they directing the players in specific ways with diegetic reasons for the player to be moving in one particular direction? And the answer here is no, actually. Never. And the forest is really hurt for it. Subnautica's distress beacons were used as a way to get the player moving in a direction they may not have been, towards a biome that they might not have realized existed, yet the forest has no equivalent. Does that matter, normally, in an open world game? No, not really. It's normally just a survival canvas for you not to die on. But when you add a story, particularly a mystery story, it kind of does? As in, you want the player to have all the clues. Some of these cave entrances are so well concealed, they feel more like Easter eggs. There's a cave entrance in this picture. Can you spot it? It's here, under the fucking ocean. Yeah, it's fucked, isn't it? How could the player possibly know that? Weirdly, it's a problem with an easily identifiable solution. You continually trip over the exploration efforts of other people, and the map you have is one you found on the body of another. Just put in map notes showing caves you haven't been to yet, that this surveyor has a marker saying that there's a site there or whatever. The game used to have little paper maps that you could find, annotated ones, but there's nothing like that in the game now. And lastly, I said that Subnautica's plot felt like it took place in areas that were a bit detached from the environment, not well worked in. Well, we'll get there with the forest. For now, as a player, you continue your routine. You find upgrades for your person, better climbing gear, underwater breathing equipment, better weapons, better tools. Alas though, to mention it once more, you can't help but encounter the bizarre quality seesaw again. The cannibal people are the focus, the overwhelming focus, and when they're working perfectly, they become a chilling enemy.
So what happens, do you reckon? There's 3 of them this time? They're trying to get through the walls.
But for every cool moment that you see, there's another encounter that just kicks your immersion in the head, such as when they teleport in front of you, or continually get stuck, or just run in circles as the pathfinding just glitches out.
Whoa! They want a fun run? You two playing Kiss Chase? What the fuck are you doing?
The horror elements, especially the gore, are really hyped up in places. Some of the visuals are strong, like really strong.
Fucking hell, that's strong. They cut this dude in half.
But it goes from 0 to 60 so early and so often that it numbs you to all the shock, which means that the later moments, which are presumably meant to stay lodged in your mind, simply don't. I think the best example is this cave. It literally has a floor of dead babies. Yep, that's a dead baby carpet. But remember, that's the hanging cave. That's where you're taken if you get knocked out at first. Not much is going to faze you horror-wise if your first game over screen has you walk over a carpet of dead babies, you know?
Grim.
The game has a myriad of animals to identify as you explore around, and you can hunt many of them in order to survive. They collectively make the world feel more vibrant and alive.
Jesus, what the fuck is that? You a crocodile?
But, well...
Okay. This deer does not give a fuck. My god, you look terrible as a model, as a game model. Look at that. It's awful. Okay.
Previously on X-Men.
Oh, and this is one of the weird ones. The developers made it so that in order to save the game, you need to sleep. That's why you build a shelter. But what happens if you need to save the game underground, far from your base? No problem, the developers thought. We'll just put in camping tents underground, the ones the cave explorers use. Job done. But really, they didn't interrogate this for even a moment, because some of the tents are in ludicrously impractical areas, sometimes on the other side of long and perilous underwater sections with only one way in or out. How on earth did the tent get in there? The most bizarre tent is where you're able to find the bow upgrade. It's in a dead-end cave in literally one of the deepest areas in the map, being hundreds of meters down through solid rock, next to a stack of boxes and delicate cardboard. You had to swim more than 100 meters through an extremely perilous route, and the game is saying that someone did that with all of this gear, boxes that will not tolerate water immersion, and also a bow underground. Oh, and an underwater drone. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense. You might think I'm nitpicking, but again, this is a mystery game. Customers will be paying attention to the little details because they're expecting to be fed clues as part of the mystery. And then they find things that even on a surface level inspection reveals not just bugs, not just technical implementation being a bit wonky.
What the fuck?
But stuff that doesn't make any fucking sense. This is why it's so important to play test. You bring in people that are new to spot the stuff that you're used to. Again, testing, testing, testing. It really is absolutely paramount.
Oh, damn it, Forrest. Can you stop doing this? It keeps having moments of cool, moments that are inspired, and then it's immediately undercut moments later by some cannibal glitching into a tree.
So the cannibals seem to have very elaborate rituals when it comes to their effigies. They build these things as displays, sometimes complicated displays, for reasons unknown. But your journey down into the cave network will soon find something on another level entirely. Going into one of the caves, you'll find the remains of 3 people sitting around a campfire. But the scene here is extraordinary.
What's this?
There are bottles of alcohol everywhere, cash and watches in boxes and briefcases, modern laptops positioned as though in use. One of the men lies flat on a table as though he's being operated on, while another one is impaled, his guts being emptied into a suitcase. And crouched down is another man with a Japanese sword thrust deep into his chest. The man with the sword in him appears to have a large back tattoo, held aloft by sticks and pinned in place, up above and behind him like a banner. That is a sashimono. The banners famously worn on the backs of soldiers in feudal Japan to indicate loyalty in battle. How the hell do cannibal people know about the samurai?
They were attacked and then their camp was staged like this.
Why are they posed like this? It is extremely distinctive and eye-catching. A group of cannibals spent a lot of time putting this together, perhaps with a katana meant to imitate seppuku. Are the cannibals copying this from some art that they found? Are they mocking it? Are they paying tribute to it? The questions pour in. This here means there's more to the cannibals than it seems.
Jesus Christ, look. Smugglers, maybe.
And then, in another cave, some of the bodies are not merely mutilated, but they've been cut completely in half, like extremely cleanly.
I don't know what's going on there. And they haven't been torn either, they've been cut.
Horizontally and vertically, the cannibals have access to some sort of sharp tool. Why are they slicing people in half?
Fuck me, that's dark.
The tool of this artist is soon revealed.
Whoa.
A chainsaw.
Okay, well, I've discovered the mystery of the blade weapon, everybody.
A modern chainsaw, complete with jerry cans of fuel. Again, is this mockery? Are they paying tribute? None of this is simply storing food or removing threats. They're making displays, elaborate displays. But why?
But again, we still haven't discovered why the cannibals are doing this. They've clearly got some extremely elaborate rituals that they perform. They're not just doing it for the funsies. Maybe this guy is.
So there's way more going on with the cannibals than it originally seems.
They knew how to use a chainsaw. They're not as stupid as they seem.
As you continue from cave to cave, you'll find more stacks of organs, stacks of limbs,